Diana Hartford never let her phone ring twice. It was a rule, like the countless others that kept her life tightly wound and immaculately ordered. Court schedules, meeting briefings, cardio at 5:30 a.m., black coffee no sugar, silence by 9 p.m. But that Wednesday evening, as she slipped off her Louboutin heels and poured herself 2 fingers of Glenlivet, she stared at the glowing screen, letting it ring once,
Twice.
3 times. When she finally picked up, her voice was clipped and cold, the default tone she reserved for anything unscheduled. Hartford. Miss Hartford, this is Dr. Ellman from Metropolitan General. I'm calling about your mother. A pause. A pause far too long. Diana set the glass down with a soft click that still sounded louder than it should have. What happened? She suffered a myocardial infarction. Speak English. She had a heart attack. She's stable now, but we've admitted her. She asked us to call you. Diana didn't remember breathing between those words. Her mind, typically so sharp it sliced through courtroom lies like a scalpel, went flat. Is she awake? She's resting. You can come tonight, but visiting hours end at 10. Diana checked the time without thinking. 8:37 p.m. She had meetings tomorrow. A deposition to prepare. A merger contract waiting on her desk. She should have felt annoyance. Frustration, at the very least. But instead, an old, unwelcome heat crept into her chest, curling around her ribs like vines through concrete. She hated hospitals. Hated the way they smelled of antiseptic and old grief. Hated the memory of sterile halls and machines beeping steadily until they didn't. Her father had died in one of those rooms. She'd been 14. And now her mother, the only person left tethering her to anything resembling a childhood, was back in one.
Damn it.
She grabbed her coat, her keys, and the Glenlivet, downing it in one swallow before storming into the New York night. Metropolitan General was as she remembered it, cold lights, colorless walls, and nurses who moved too fast to see her face. She gave her mother's name at the front desk, was directed to the 4th floor, cardiac wing. The air smelled of bleach and something artificial. She walked with the rigid posture of someone who didn't want to be touched by anything. Room 417, the nurse said. Diana didn't thank her. She never did. Margaret Hartford was pale under the thin hospital blanket, her silver hair a mess, face drawn but still regal. Even like this, she looked like a woman who once told her 6-year-old daughter to speak like she meant it when reciting her school poem. Diana stood at the door for a long moment before entering. You look like hell, her mother croaked without opening her eyes. Diana exhaled a tight breath. So do you. Nice symmetry. A weak smile flickered on Margaret's lips. Don't start. Diana sat. She didn't touch her. They said you're stable.
For now.
They tell me things like I don't know how to die. Don't be dramatic. Don't be cold. Diana's jaw clenched. She stood up abruptly, unsure why she had even come. Maybe guilt. Maybe memory. Maybe because some part of her still heard her father's voice whispering that she'd have to take care of her mother someday. I'll be back tomorrow. Bring better coffee, Margaret mumbled. Diana didn't answer. She stepped out into the hallway, intending to leave. That's when she saw her. Sam Taylor was standing just down the hall, her back to Diana, her scrubs the color of deep teal, her hair in a messy ponytail that somehow still looked deliberate. She was crouched beside a young girl, maybe 6 or 7, with a cast on her arm and tears streaking her face. Hey, Sam whispered gently, you know what I do when I'm scared? The girl shook her head. I sing. Just a little. And before Diana could roll her eyes, the nurse started humming, something soft and familiar. You are my sunshine. Her voice was quiet, warm like a blanket pulled over shaking shoulders. The girl stopped crying. Diana didn't move. Something uncoiled in her chest, something she didn't have a name for. The nurse stood and smiled at the girl's parents, who had just arrived. Then she turned. Their eyes met. Sam didn't flinch. She didn't blink or offer one of those fake nurse smiles. She just looked at Diana like she saw her. Really saw her. And Diana hated that. Miss Hartford. Sam asked, walking toward her. I'm Sam Taylor. I've been on your mother's care rotation since the transfer. She's a stubborn one. It runs in the family, Diana said flatly. Of course. Sam smiled. She told me you were her fierce little lion. Diana arched a brow. My mother clearly needs neurological evaluation. Sam laughed. She's lucky to have you here. She's lucky to have competent medical staff. That's what matters. Well, thank you. I think. Sam tilted her head, studying her. You look like you could use coffee. I look like I could use a month off in Santorini. But I'm sure hospital vending will suffice. Sam grinned, completely unfazed by the frost in Diana's voice.
Come on, then.
I'll show you which machine doesn't taste like regret. Diana didn't understand why she followed her. Why she listened as this infuriatingly warm young woman talked about hospital vending machines with the ease of someone who hadn't learned yet how cruel the world could be. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe curiosity. Or maybe, just maybe, something else. They walked side by side in silence for a few steps. Then Sam said, You're not what I expected. And what exactly did you expect? More walls. Less sarcasm. Diana stopped walking. You don't know me. Not yet, Sam said, turning around with a look that wasn't flirty, but wasn't neutral either. It was daring. Diana's stomach tightened. But I'm good at reading people. And you don't scare me. That's a dangerous thing to say. Sam shrugged. Some things are worth the risk. Diana stared at her for a beat too long, then kept walking. She told herself it meant nothing, that the warmth blooming under her ribs was just fatigue or caffeine withdrawal or the fact that her mother had survived something lethal. But when Sam handed her the coffee, terrible and bitter but somehow exactly right, Diana's fingers brushed hers for half a second. And it was enough to make her forget everything she thought she knew about ice. The next morning, Diana Hartford arrived at Metropolitan General precisely at 7:46 a.m. She'd told herself it was for efficiency. Beat the traffic. Check on her mother before heading into the office. A 20-minute stop, maximum. But the truth was messier, and Diana loathed messy. It lingered beneath her skin like a whisper, something unfinished from the night before. Something warm, young, reckless. Something named Sam. The fourth floor was quieter in the morning. Fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead. Nurses moved in practiced silence, charts clutched to chests, coffee cups steaming between shifts. When Diana stepped into room 417, Margaret was awake, propped up by pillows, reading a battered paperback of Sylvia Plath. You're early, she said, without looking up. You sound disappointed. Just surprised. I assumed you'd be in a deposition by now, turning some poor soul into dust. Diana ignored the jab. How do you feel? Like a woman who survived a heart attack. Again. Her mother finally glanced up, studied Diana's face for a moment too long. You slept in your office, didn't you? No, liar. Diana crossed her arms, eyes narrowing. You have no evidence to support that accusation. You forget. I taught you how to lie. Before Diana could reply, the door opened, and just like that, the air shifted. Sam entered the room holding a chart and a bright smile that looked suspiciously genuine. Her eyes lit up the moment she saw Margaret, and just a second later, those same eyes flicked toward Diana, catching her, holding her like a secret passed in silence. Good morning, ladies. Sam's voice was soft, melodic, and infuriatingly pleasant. Someone's looking much better today. Flattery will get you everything, Margaret said, smiling. Diana watched the exchange from a quiet corner of the room, arms folded, trying not to let her gaze linger on the curve of Sam's cheek, the way a strand of hair slipped free from her ponytail. Vitals look good, Sam continued, checking the monitors. We'll keep you on observation, but if you keep improving like this, we might release you in a couple of days. Already planning to kick me out? We've got beds to free, Margaret. But mostly, I think you're scaring the cardiac wing into behaving. Diana rolled her eyes. Charming. Sam turned to her, lips twitching. You say that like it's an insult. It wasn't meant to be a compliment. Noted. Sam scribbled something in the chart and handed it to the nurse beside her. I'll come back later to check on you. Behave. I'll try, Margaret said, then added with a wink. Your daughter, on the other hand, hopeless. I'm right here, Diana muttered. Unfortunately, Margaret shot back. Sam laughed as she exited the room, and Diana found herself following, without fully deciding to. She caught up with Sam near the supply cart. You two get along disturbingly well. Sam glanced at her, amused. She reminds me of my grandmother, minus the terrifying glare. She's not as charming as she pretends. Neither are you. Diana froze. Excuse me? You act like you don't care, but you showed up this morning before visiting hours. You're not fooling anyone, Miss Hartford. Diana stepped closer, lowering her voice. You think you can psychoanalyze me because I brought coffee and checked on my mother?
No.
I think I can psychoanalyze you because I've seen people hide behind sharp words and perfect posture my entire life. And you, Diana, are practically see-through. Her name, spoken aloud like a secret. Diana blinked. She wasn't sure anyone had called her that, just Diana, in weeks, maybe months. She hated how it made her feel. Exposed.
Seen. Alive.
You're very sure of yourself, she said finally. You have to be in this job. You're just a nurse. Sam's eyes flashed, not with anger, but something deeper. Just a nurse. That's cute. You should try saying that to the 6-year-old who stopped crying because I sang to her. Or the man who coded last week and lived because I did the compressions that saved his brain function. Diana flinched. Sam stepped back, not out of fear but control. You may win in courtrooms, Diana, but in here, I fight for lives. Don't belittle what you don't understand. Diana opened her mouth, then closed it again. For once, the lawyer had no rebuttal. Sam gave a soft, almost apologetic smile. Look, I'm not trying to get under your skin, but your armor's cracked. Whether you like it or not, something's getting through. She turned and walked away, leaving Diana rooted in place. That night, Diana sat in her apartment, the city stretching beneath her windows in a haze of lights. She should have been preparing for tomorrow's hearing. Instead, she was Googling, how old is too young in a relationship? Then she scowled and slammed the laptop shut. Ridiculous. She wasn't interested. She was intrigued, fascinated by someone so unafraid to push back, to see her not as a threat or a trophy, but as a person. She poured herself another drink. Didn't finish it. The next day blurred. Work, calls, arguments. She snapped at her assistant. Ignored her ex-husband's fourth attempt to rekindle a toxic friendship. But by 6:30 p.m., she was back at the hospital. She told herself Margaret needed her. But her mother was asleep when she arrived. And Sam was there, alone, seated at the nurse's station, typing into the computer. Her expression softened the moment she saw her. You came back. Diana stepped closer. Don't sound so surprised. I'm not. Just glad. My mother's asleep. She's doing well. I can wake her. No. Let her rest. Silence stretched between them like silk. Diana glanced around. Slow night. Not really. I'm just good at stealing 5 minutes when I need them. You always smile like that? Like what? Like you're not exhausted. Sam looked at her, really looked. Maybe I'm not pretending. Diana tilted her head. You're 23. And you still believe people are good. I still believe people can be good. Diana exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. You're infuriating. You're lonely. It wasn't a question. Diana felt something inside her go very, very still. You don't know me. Maybe not. But I know the look of someone who doesn't remember the last time they let themselves feel anything real.
She didn't respond. Couldn't. Sam stood.
Come with me. Where? Just down the hall.
Why?
Sam's smile was soft, unreadable. Because I think there's still something in you that wants to remember what warmth feels like. Diana followed. Not because she believed her, but because a part of her, a part she'd buried beneath court rulings and frozen silences, wanted to. They stopped outside a window overlooking the neonatal wing. Tiny babies, swaddled in pinks and blues, lay sleeping in soft-lit cradles. Sam didn't speak. She just pointed to one in the far corner. That one? Born at 26 weeks. She weighed less than 2 pounds. The doctors said she wouldn't make it. She fought anyway. Diana watched the rise and fall of miniature chests. The flicker of life, fragile and unstoppable. What's her name? Hope, Sam whispered. Diana looked at her. For the first time, her voice cracked, almost imperceptibly. Do you ever get scared? Sam's eyes didn't leave the window. Every day, but I show up anyway. Diana felt the first crack, deep and quiet, spreading like warmth through frost. And it terrified her. Diana hadn't planned to return to the hospital the next evening. She told herself she had too much to do, client briefs to review, an associate to fire, and 3 messages from her firm's managing partner, all unanswered. But sometime around 5:15 p.m., as she stared blankly at the screen of her laptop, her fingers stopped typing. Instead, they hovered, then moved of their own accord, closed the laptop, reached for her coat.
She didn't think.
She moved. Margaret was awake this time, propped up and sipping something suspiciously not hospital-approved from a thermos Diana didn't recognize. That's not tea, Diana observed, closing the door behind her. It's chamomile, Margaret replied, deadpan. With bourbon. Diana arched an eyebrow. You're recovering from heart failure. Which is why I need to relax. You're impossible. You're late. Diana checked the clock. 6:07 p.m. I wasn't aware I was expected. Oh, you are. Margaret sipped again. Sam said you'd show up. Said you had that look. What look? The look of a woman being dragged somewhere she's already chosen to go. Diana said nothing. Her mother smirked. That girl's good for you. She's 23. So, she thinks time is infinite. Margaret set the cup down and fixed her with a level stare. And you think yours is already up. Diana looked away. I didn't come here for a lecture. That's unfortunate. I've had 70 years to perfect them. Diana stood, restless. She's just a nurse. And you're just scared. Before Diana could respond, there was a soft knock on the door. Sam's head peeked in. Is this a bad time? Never, Margaret answered before Diana could open her mouth. Sam stepped in, clipboard in hand, smile bright as always. But this time it wasn't for Margaret.
It was for Diana. Small.
Subtle. Private. Vitals are good, she said, glancing at the monitor. No signs of arrhythmia. Told you I'm hard to kill, Margaret said. You're a legend, Sam replied. I'll be back in a bit. Oh, Diana? The name again. Soft as silk. Can I talk to you outside for a second? Diana hesitated, then followed. They walked a few steps into the hallway, where the hum of machines and low chatter created a strange, sterile intimacy. Sam leaned against the wall, eyes curious. I wanted to ask how you're doing. I'm not the one in a hospital bed. You are, metaphorically. Diana didn't answer. Sam continued. You came back. I said I would. No, you didn't. Diana tilted her head. Are you always this observant? Only when I care. There it was again, that disarming sincerity. No manipulation. No pretense. It wrapped around Diana like something dangerous and unfamiliar. We barely know each other, Diana said. Sam shrugged. We're getting there. You don't even know the worst things about me. Try me. Diana stepped closer. I've ruined marriages. Yours or others? Both. Sam didn't flinch. Keep going. I've buried feelings so deep I forgot where I put them. I've pushed people away because I believed love was weakness. I manipulate, I intimidate, and I've never regretted a case I won, even if it destroyed someone. Sam crossed her arms, eyes steady. Okay. That doesn't scare you?
No.
It makes me want to know what made you like this. Diana blinked. What? People aren't born cold. Something happened. I want to understand it. Diana stared at her, and something inside her wanted to scream.
To flee.
But Sam's presence was magnetic, an impossible contradiction of calm and fire.
Why?
Diana whispered. Sam smiled. Because I think you're worth knowing. The words sliced clean through the ice. Diana took a slow breath, turned away. This is ridiculous. Why? Because you're 23. And you're 45. So what? Diana laughed bitterly. You're asking for trouble. No, Sam said, stepping closer. I'm asking for honesty. Diana looked at her. Really looked. And for one terrifying, electrifying second, she thought about kissing her. The idea struck like lightning. Then the door behind them opened. Margaret cleared her throat, holding her forepole like a staff of judgment. Sam, when you're done flirting with my daughter, I need a new blanket. This one's tragic. Sam turned scarlet. Diana turned to stone. I wasn't flirting, Sam mumbled, disappearing down the hallway. Margaret gave Diana a look. Wasn't flirting. Please. You're impossible, Diana muttered. And you're pretending none of this matters. That's worse. Diana left not long after, using work as her excuse. But she didn't sleep.
Couldn't.
Images of Sam haunted her, laughing, singing, standing in the hallway with too much courage in her eyes. She didn't understand how someone so young could make her feel so off balance. It wasn't supposed to be like this. She wasn't supposed to feel. The next few days passed in a haze. Margaret improved. Sam remained professional.
Kind.
Almost distant. Diana told herself that was good. But it felt like something had been pulled away before she even got to hold it. Then Friday came. Diana was in the room, pretending to read briefs while Margaret slept. Sam walked in for her rounds, checked the vitals in silence. Diana looked up. Is everything okay? Fine, Sam said too quickly. You're avoiding me. I'm working. That's not what I asked. Sam exhaled, then turned to her. You said this was ridiculous. That we shouldn't, whatever this is. So I'm respecting that. Diana's voice lowered. And if I was wrong, Sam's eyes searched hers. Then say that. I don't know what this is, Diana said, and it was the most honest thing she'd said in years. I don't do this. Do what? Want someone who terrifies me. Sam's voice softened. You don't have to know everything right now. You just have to want to know. Diana looked down at her hands. What if I ruin you? Sam smiled. You won't. But even if you tried, I'd still choose to see you. Every version. Not just the one you let the world see. Diana stood.
Slowly.
Walked toward her. If I did this, if I let this happen, it wouldn't be casual. I never asked for casual. Diana reached out. Her fingers brushed Sam's. Just a touch. But it felt like opening a door that had been locked for decades. Not here, Sam whispered. Not yet. When then? When you're ready to feel everything you've been running from. Diana stared at her. And you'll wait? Sam nodded. I'm already waiting. Diana hadn't been to the office in 3 days, which for anyone else might have been considered ordinary. Sick days, family emergencies, long weekends. But for Diana Hartford, it was practically a seismic event. Associates whispered. Clients called twice. A junior partner attempted to handle a high-profile client negotiation without her and botched it so badly that Diana had to redo the entire deal from her car, laptop balanced on her knees outside the hospital, barking terms into her Bluetooth while watching the rain distort her reflection in the windshield. She told herself she was being responsible, managing both personal obligations and professional priorities. But even she couldn't deny the shift. She wasn't just there for her mother anymore. Margaret's health was steadily improving. The doctors were optimistic. Her prognosis looked good. And yet, Diana found herself arriving earlier, staying later, lingering in corridors longer than necessary. She had never been good at pretending when she was alone. And alone was exactly what she was when she saw Sam again, 5 minutes before shift change, standing by the vending machine with her hair down for the first time. The sight of it, untamed waves of chestnut brown curling along her shoulders, hit Diana like a second glass of scotch after an empty stomach. Dangerous. Uninvited. Irresistible. She approached slowly, like something half afraid the moment would vanish if she moved too fast. Sam didn't notice her at first. She was pressing buttons on the machine, brow furrowed, sighing when the packet of almonds she'd chosen got stuck behind the glass. Typical, she muttered. Diana reached past her and hit the machine with the side of her hand. It rattled. The almonds fell. Sam looked up. I was going to do that. But you didn't. That's debatable. Diana handed her the packet. Their fingers brushed, and this time, neither of them moved away. You wear your hair down when you're off duty? Diana asked. Only when I want to feel human. It works. Sam smiled, but it was softer now. Guarded. How's your mom?
Ornery.
Complaining about the food. Swearing the nurses are trying to poison her. So normal. Alarmingly so. A beat of silence. Diana stepped closer, letting the proximity linger. Are we going to pretend that night didn't happen? Which part? The part where I almost kissed you. Sam's breath hitched, but she didn't look away. You didn't. I wanted to. I know. The quiet between them pulsed like a heartbeat. Diana studied her face, the light dusting of freckles across her cheeks, the curve of her bottom lip, the way she didn't back down. Tell me I'm not too old for this, Diana whispered. You're not. Tell me I'm not crazy. You might be, but so am I. Diana closed her eyes for half a second, just long enough to remember who she was, what she had built, what she could lose. Then she opened them again. What do you want from me? Sam's answer was immediate. I want you to stop being afraid of yourself. The words hit deeper than Diana expected. You say that like it's simple. It's not, Sam admitted, but it's possible. What if I hurt you? Then I'll know I took the risk for something real. Diana exhaled slowly, like peeling herself open inch by inch. I don't know how to do this. Then let's not call it anything yet. Just be here. A nurse passed by, smiling knowingly at Sam before disappearing around the corner. Diana stiffened. People are watching. Let them, Sam said softly. You spend your life being invisible in plain sight. Don't you want to be seen just once, for exactly who you are? Diana didn't answer.
Not yet.
Later that night, Margaret was half asleep when Diana returned to the room, still thinking of that impossible conversation, still feeling the ghost of what hadn't happened. You saw her again, Margaret murmured without opening her eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You need rest, and you need to stop pretending you're made of stone. Diana sat beside her, folding her arms. You're remarkably observant for a cardiac patient. Love does that. Diana looked away. It's not love. Yet. Silence wrapped the room. The hum of monitors. The soft breath of night. I was married once, Diana said suddenly, her voice low, almost brittle. You remember. Of course. You remember how it ended. I remember how it never really began. Diana flinched. Margaret opened her eyes, soft now.
Tired. Kind.
You married a man who fit the narrative. A man who wanted a trophy wife, and you wanted armor. You both got what you asked for. And neither of you were brave enough to ask for what you needed. And what did I need? Margaret smiled. Someone who sees you even when you hide. Diana's throat tightened. I don't even know if I'm. You don't need a label, darling. You need freedom. Later, in the hospital's small side garden, Diana stood alone under the cold wash of moonlight, phone forgotten in her coat pocket. Sam joined her without speaking. They stood side by side, looking out at the trimmed hedges and dim lamps. Why are you here? Diana asked after a while. Because I knew you'd be here. You don't even know me. You keep saying that like it matters. Diana turned to her. It does. Then let me learn. Let me stay. And if I can't give you what you want, then I'll take what you can offer. As long as it's real. Diana hesitated, then reached out. Her fingers found Sam's. Warm and open. They didn't kiss. Not yet. But something passed between them that felt louder than any kiss could be. A silent promise. A beginning. And Diana, for the first time in years, didn't feel frozen. She felt afraid, but she also felt alive. The next morning, Diana woke up before her alarm, which in itself was unusual. What was more unusual was the fact that she hadn't fallen asleep at all. Her bedroom was still dark, the faint glow of Manhattan beginning to press its fingers against the windows, and she lay still, eyes open, watching the ceiling like it might rearrange itself and give her answers. She had spent the entire night reliving every moment, every look, every word, every brush of fingertips in that quiet hospital garden. Sam's hand in hers had felt terrifying and familiar. Too much, too soon, too impossible. And yet, not enough. Never enough. By 6:30, Diana was dressed in heels, hair twisted back in its usual sleek bun, coat crisp, briefcase in hand. She told herself she was going to the hospital to check on her mother. Nothing more. Certainly not to see Sam again. Certainly not to feel that heat again. Margaret was awake when Diana entered. The tray in front of her had been picked clean. "You look rested," Diana said. "I feel ancient." "Well, you are. And you're still deflecting." Habit. Weakness. Diana rolled her eyes and poured herself coffee from the carafe. "Where's Nurse Sunshine?" "Sam's on a double. Poor thing's been running up and down this floor all night." Diana hesitated. "A double shift?" she offered. "Some other nurse had a family emergency. Apparently, Sam doesn't know how to say no. She's young. She's capable." Diana sat down, but her foot tapped involuntarily under the chair. She hated the way her pulse shifted whenever she thought of Sam, hated that she noticed when Sam wasn't in the room. When the door opened 20 minutes later, Diana didn't look up immediately. But her mother did. "Speak of the angel," Margaret said. Sam stepped in, hair tied high again, a bit frizzy from exhaustion, dark circles just beginning to shadow her eyes. But her smile remained. "Morning, ladies. We were just discussing your inability to rest," Margaret said. "I rest when I'm dead." "You sound like my daughter." "That explains so much," Sam murmured, meeting Diana's gaze. And there it was again. That unbearable spark. Diana cleared her throat. "How's the floor?" "Chaotic as always. But your mother's officially the least dramatic patient I've had in 12 hours. Margaret scoffed. "You need to raise your standards." Sam laughed softly and turned to Diana. "Can I borrow you for a second? I want to show you something." "What is it?" "Nothing medical. Just something." Diana hesitated. "Fine." She followed Sam out of the room and down a side hallway she hadn't walked before. It was quieter here. Less foot traffic. The lights were dimmer, like they'd passed into a part of the hospital that wasn't entirely awake yet. Sam stopped near a lock supply room and pulled a set of keys from her pocket. "This used to be the on-call room," she said, unlocking the door. "We use it for breaks sometimes when we're desperate for quiet." Diana stepped inside after her. The room was small, just a worn couch, a desk, an old mini fridge, and a curtain half drawn across a narrow window. Sam closed the door behind them. The click echoed in Diana's spine. "Why are we here?" she asked. Sam stepped closer, slowly, like approaching something sacred. "Because I wanted 5 minutes where I didn't have to pretend not to want you." Diana's breath hitched. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because it's dangerous." "To who? Your reputation?" "To me." Sam reached out, her fingers brushing Diana's cheek with devastating tenderness. "I'm not going to kiss you unless you ask me to." Diana's heart thundered in her chest. Her skin was hot, her mouth dry. "And what if I never do?" "Then I'll keep walking away. But I won't pretend." Diana closed her eyes. "I can't stop thinking about you." "Then don't. You're too young." "I'm old enough to know what I want." "I'm not who you think I am." Sam leaned closer. "Maybe not.
But you could be." And that was it.
The dam broke. Diana stepped forward and kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't cautious. It was years of silence, of holding back, of living half alive, all pouring into one moment that didn't feel like sin or mistake. It felt like truth. Sam kissed her back with the same fire, her hands tangling into Diana's coat, pulling her closer until there was no space left between them. Diana didn't know how long it lasted. All she knew was that when they pulled apart, she was trembling. "That shouldn't have happened," she whispered. "But it did," Sam replied, still breathless. Diana turned away, pacing once. "This complicates everything." "Only if you make it complicated. I don't do this." "You did." Diana looked at her. "I'm scared." Sam smiled gently. "So am I." "We can't let anyone know." "I won't tell anyone." "This has to stay." Diana trailed off. Sam nodded. "Private. For now." "I don't know what this is." "It doesn't have to be anything. Yet." They stood in silence again, the kind that buzzed with too many emotions to name. Then Sam reached for the door. "I have to get back. My break's almost over." "Right. Are you okay?" Diana swallowed hard.
No.
"But I'm closer than I was yesterday." Sam smiled and left. Diana remained behind for a moment longer, hand pressed to her lips, trying to remember how to breathe. She'd crossed a line, and she didn't regret it. Later, when Margaret was napping and the hospital was quiet again, Diana sat beside her mother's bed and stared at the beeping monitors like they might confess something. When her mother stirred, Diana didn't move. "You kissed her," Margaret said, voice barely above a whisper. Diana didn't deny it. "How did you? I'm not blind." "You wear guilt like a perfume." Diana stared down at her lap. "I don't know what I'm doing." "That's how you know it's real." "I'm twice her age." "Love doesn't read birth certificates." "This could ruin me." Margaret smiled faintly. "Or it could save you." That night, Diana didn't go home. She sat in her car outside the hospital for an hour, phone in hand, screen dark. She almost texted Sam. Almost drove away. Almost did what she always did, run. But she didn't. She closed her eyes and, for the first time, let herself imagine a life where she didn't have to be stone. Just a woman. A woman in love. Or on the edge of it. Diana hadn't returned to the hospital for 2 days. Not because her mother didn't need her. Not because she didn't want to see Sam. But because she was afraid. And fear, for Diana Hartford, was worse than pain. Worse than failure. It was a thing she refused to name, the thing she crushed under 20-hour workdays and airtight logic. But now it sat with her, every second of those 48 hours. A gnawing, aching presence that clung to her skin no matter how many times she changed suits or tried to lose herself in the legalese of corporate mergers. The moment they kissed wouldn't leave her. It replayed like a song on a loop, Sam's mouth soft but insistent, her hands desperate and sure, her breath caught between surprise and surrender. Diana had kissed before. Of course she had. Dozens of times, maybe more. But she had never felt like that. Like she was standing barefoot in the middle of a storm. Like she'd spent her entire life trying not to drown, only to be pulled under by something that felt suspiciously like air. On the third morning, her phone rang at 6:12 a.m. She was already awake. The screen said private number, but she answered anyway. "Hartford." "You're avoiding me," Sam's voice came through, quiet and direct. Diana closed her eyes. "I'm not." "Then why haven't I seen you?" "I've been busy." "Liar." Diana leaned her head back against the pillow, exhaling hard. "I don't know how to do this." "You don't have to. You just have to show up." "I can't show up for something that shouldn't be happening." "Then tell me to stop. Tell me you felt nothing when we kissed. Tell me to leave you alone." Silence. Long, deafening. Diana swallowed. "I can't." Sam's voice softened. "Then come back." That night, Diana walked into room 417 just after 7. Margaret was awake, already wearing her "I told you so" expression. "Did you find what you were looking for?" she asked. "No," Diana replied. "But I stopped running from it. That's progress." "That's terrifying." Margaret reached over and patted her daughter's hand. "Good." Diana stayed for an hour.
She made small talk.
Asked about her mother's physical therapy schedule. Mentioned a book she'd ordered for her. But the entire time, her eyes kept drifting to the hallway. The sounds of footsteps outside, The rustling of scrubs, the distant hum of a nurse's laugh, they all made her tense like a wire stretched too tight. Then, finally, Sam appeared in the doorway. Her hair was up again. Her face unreadable. Professional. She didn't look like someone who had been kissed in a stolen moment behind a locked door. She looked like a nurse. A stranger. Diana hated it. "Miss Hartford," Sam said, nodding once. "Your mother's chart has been updated. Her cardiologist recommends another 2 days before discharge." "Fine," Diana replied. "Let me know if you need anything." Sam turned to go. "Wait," Diana said, standing. Margaret gave them both a look and then muttered, "I suddenly need to go to the bathroom for 20 minutes," before shuffling toward the restroom. The door clicked shut. Diana stepped closer to Sam, her voice low. "Is this how it's going to be now?" Sam didn't look at her. "You disappeared for 2 days." "I was trying to think. You could have told me. I'm telling you now." Sam finally met her eyes. "And I was scared. Of me. Of what you make me feel." Sam exhaled. "Diana, I'm not a risk you have to take. I'm a choice you're allowed to make." That did something to Diana's chest. Made it tighter and looser at the same time. "I don't want this to ruin your life," she said. "It won't. But not having you might ruin yours." Diana reached out, fingers brushing the edge of Sam's wrist. "We can't do this here." "Then let's go somewhere we can." "Tonight." "Where?" "My place. After your shift." Sam paused. "Are you sure?" "I'm not sure about anything," Diana said, "except that I want to see you when no one else is watching." At 10:47 p.m., Diana opened the door to her apartment and let Sam Taylor inside. The contrast was jarring. Sleek, angular furniture. Glass and metal. Cold lines. Sam walked in slowly, taking in the city lights spilling through the window. The silence, so complete it felt like a museum. "You live like no one's allowed to touch anything," Sam murmured. Diana closed the door behind her. "No one usually is." Sam turned to face her. "So why am I here?" Diana walked closer. "Because I want to know what it feels like to let someone in." Sam's breath caught. "Diana, you make me want things I haven't wanted in decades." "Like what?" "Warmth. Closeness. Mess." Sam stepped forward, brushing a hand against Diana's face. "I can be all of those things, but only if you stop punishing yourself." Diana leaned into the touch. "I don't know how." "Then let me teach you." They didn't kiss right away. They just stood there, breathing the same air, eyes locked like two souls trying to recognize each other through layers of pain. Then Diana reached up, her hands on Sam's hips, her voice almost shaking. "Stay." Sam nodded. "Always." And when they kissed again, it was different. Slower.
Deeper.
Not desperation, recognition. They moved together like they were remembering something they'd never actually known. They didn't undress immediately. There was reverence in every touch. Every button undone felt like unburdening. Every sigh like confession. When Diana finally lay back against the pillows with Sam curled against her side, her fingers tangled in soft hair, she didn't feel afraid. She felt undone. And free. "You're dangerous," she whispered. Sam smiled sleepily. "So are you." Diana looked out the window at the night she used to own with her solitude and realized how empty it had always been. "What do we do now?" "We wake up," Sam said softly. "And we keep choosing this. One day at a time." Diana closed her eyes. For the first time, she believed it might be possible. Diana Hartford had always been good at compartmentalizing. Emotions belonged in one drawer, business in another. Desire, when it was unavoidable, was placed firmly in a locked box and kept under the bed of her consciousness, only opened in solitude and always with caution. But after Sam, the drawers didn't close properly anymore. Her thoughts no longer filed themselves neatly into categories. Her control, the very thing she'd built her identity on, was beginning to slip, and the terrifying part wasn't the chaos. It was how much she wanted to let it in. The morning after Sam spent the night, Diana woke first. The sun bled pale orange across her bedroom floor, the quiet hum of traffic below barely audible from her penthouse windows. For a few long minutes, she simply watched Sam sleep. Hair spilled across the pillow, mouth slightly parted, her body curled in toward Diana's like instinct. She looked young, but not naive. She looked real, tangible, and that scared Diana more than anything. She traced the shape of her own fingers against Sam's arm, committing the warmth to memory. Then she slipped out of bed, poured herself a cup of coffee, and stood barefoot by the window with the skyline stretching out before her. The illusion of solitude, the comfort of routine. But it wasn't real anymore. Not after last night. She heard Sam stir behind her. Then soft footsteps. Then arms, bare and warm, sliding gently around her waist from behind. "You left the bed," Sam mumbled sleepily. "I missed you." Diana's chest tightened. She hadn't heard those words in years. Not like that. Not so easy. So unguarded. "I didn't go far," she said, her voice lower than usual. Sam rested her cheek against Diana's back. "Do you always look this serious after sex?" "That wasn't just sex." "No," Sam agreed. "It wasn't." Diana turned slowly in her arms, resting her hands on Sam's waist. "We shouldn't make this a habit. Because habits are dangerous? Because habits lead to expectations. And expectations, they complicate everything." Sam tilted her head. "So, don't expect anything. Just feel it." Diana didn't answer. She kissed her instead. Gently this time. Hesitant. As if trying to convince herself she still had control over how deep she was sinking. But by noon, reality began to seep in. Sam had to return for another shift. Diana had a partner meeting she couldn't skip. They dressed in silence, not awkward, just aware. Something had shifted between them, and they both knew it. "Can I call you later?" Sam asked, pulling her hair into a ponytail in the hallway. "You can," Diana said. "Will you answer?" Diana met her eyes. "Yes." Sam kissed her one last time at the door, brief but tender, then disappeared down the hall. And just like that, the silence returned. But it was no longer comforting. It felt like something was missing. That afternoon at the office, Diana was off her game. She missed 2 minor details in a contract review. Her assistant noticed. A senior partner raised an eyebrow. "You okay, Hartford?" he asked as they exited the boardroom. "You're usually 10 moves ahead. Today you're only 5. "I'm fine," she replied curtly. But she wasn't. Her mind was somewhere between the memory of Sam's laughter and the feel of her fingers tracing slow patterns against Diana's spine. She was unraveling, and people were starting to notice. By the end of the day, she drafted and deleted 4 texts to Sam. None of them sent. At 8:34 p.m., her phone buzzed. A message. "Missed you today. Hope you're okay. Want to see you, but no pressure. Just thinking of you." Diana stared at the words for a long time, then replied, "I'm thinking of you too." It was simple, too simple, but it was the most honest thing she'd said all day. The following morning, she arrived at the hospital before visiting hours. Margaret was still asleep, which gave her an excuse to wander the corridors. She didn't ask for Sam, didn't look for her, but part of her still hoped. And then she heard it, her voice, muffled behind a curtain. "No, he needs the scan today. I don't care if radiology is behind. He's been waiting 8 hours and his chart is flagged for internal bleeding. Make it happen or I'm calling his surgeon myself." Diana stopped, half hidden behind a wall, and watched. Sam was standing near a mobile chart, her expression fierce and commanding, her hand on her hip as she argued into her headset. Her tone was clipped, her patience thinning, but every word was rooted in care. This wasn't the sweet, soft Sam she'd kissed in the dark. This was the woman who saved lives, who refused to accept excuses. Diana's stomach twisted, because she wanted her again, and not just in secret, but in the real world. And that was the most terrifying part. "You know you're staring, right?" Diana turned to find Margaret standing behind her with a walker and a knowing look. "She's impressive," Margaret said. "Yes," Diana admitted. She is. So, why do you look like you're watching your house burn down? Because I'm starting to want something I'm not sure I deserve. Margaret nodded slowly. That's when you know it's real. That afternoon, someone from the hospital administration office approached Sam with a clipboard and a carefully neutral tone. We've had a couple of family members express concerns about how much time you're spending with one particular visitor, they said. Not an official complaint. Just watch yourself. Sam felt her stomach drop. What visitor? The administrator didn't say. They didn't have to. Sam forced a smile. Understood. That night, when Diana came by Margaret's room, Sam wasn't there. Not on the floor. Not on break.
Not anywhere.
She checked her phone. No messages. She waited. An hour passed. Then another. At 11:13 p.m., her phone lit up. We need to talk. Tomorrow. Away from the hospital. Diana stared at the message, the words heavy with something that felt a lot like dread. The fallout had begun, and she had no idea how to stop it. Diana had never been one to wait. She built her entire reputation on anticipation, reading people 3 steps ahead, finding the weakness before the opponent even knew they'd left one exposed. But the next day, as she sat in the back corner of a quiet cafe just outside the Upper West Side, waiting for Sam, she felt completely powerless. Powerless and exposed. She wore a trench coat over her usual black, sunglasses pushed onto her head, as though anonymity might protect her from the thing she feared more than exposure: vulnerability. Sam arrived 10 minutes late. Her hair was damp from the rain, and she looked tired in a way Diana had never seen before. Not just from work, but from the weight of too much care. "Hey," Sam said softly, sliding into the seat across from her. Diana swallowed. "Hi." A long silence stretched between them. The cafe buzzed around them with the quiet energy of a weekday afternoon. Mothers and strollers, students with laptops, the clink of cups. But inside their small corner, it felt too still. Too heavy. "You said we needed to talk," Diana said. Sam nodded, her hands wrapped around a mug she hadn't sipped from yet. "Someone talked to me yesterday. About us." "Yes." "Who?" "They didn't say. Just that someone noticed. That I should be careful." Diana's jaw tensed. "And you?" "I told them I understood." "But did you?" Sam looked at her. Really looked. "I understood that being with you comes with consequences." Diana exhaled. "You don't deserve that. Neither do you." "I've built a life out of control, Sam. Image. Boundaries. Do you know what happens if this gets out?"
"What?"
"That you're in love with someone who happens to be a woman? Or someone younger?" Diana flinched. "I didn't say I was in love." "You didn't have to." Silence again. But now it was electric, dangerous. "I care about you," Diana said finally. "More than I ever meant to. But I need to know you're not gambling everything on a fantasy." "You think this is a fantasy?" Sam asked, voice quieter now.
"No."
"That's the problem." Diana looked down. "It's real. Too real." Sam reached across the table, laying her hand over Diana's. "Then let's stop hiding." Diana's heart jumped. "We can't be reckless. So, let's be brave." Diana didn't answer right away. Her thumb brushed lightly against Sam's fingers, and for a moment, it didn't matter who was watching. She just needed to touch her. "I've spent most of my adult life pretending I didn't need anyone," she whispered. "Pretending I was safer alone." Sam's voice was barely audible. "And are you?" Diana shook her head slowly. "Not anymore." Later that evening, she returned to the hospital. Margaret had been moved to a step-down unit. She looked better. Stronger. "You look like you haven't slept," Margaret said as Diana walked in. "I didn't." "Trouble in paradise?" Diana sat beside her bed. "It's not paradise. It's terrifying." "Same thing, some would say." Diana leaned back in the chair. "What would you do? If you had a second chance? At love? At truth?" Margaret paused, then said, "I'd take it. No matter what it cost me." Diana stared at the floor. "Even if it meant people whispering?" "They'll whisper no matter what you do." Better they whisper about your courage than your loneliness. Later that night, Diana texted Sam. Can I see you after your shift? Sam responded within a minute.
Yes.
My place this time. Sam's apartment was small, cluttered, full of color. Books stacked unevenly. Polaroids on the fridge. Plants in various states of survival. It was nothing like Diana's penthouse. It was alive. This is where you live, Diana said softly. And this is where I want you to be, Sam replied, pulling her inside. They kissed. Not with desperation this time, but with something deeper.
Certainty.
Diana's coat slipped from her shoulders. Sam's hands found her waist. The room blurred. The bed was unmade. The windows were cracked open. And none of it mattered. What mattered was the way Diana clung to her like the world might vanish if she let go. Later, tangled in sheets and silence, Diana lay with her head resting on Sam's chest, listening to the steady rhythm beneath her ear. Do you believe in fate? She asked suddenly. Sam's fingers traced lazy patterns along her spine.
No.
I believe in choosing people. Over and over. What if I mess this up? Then we figure it out. Diana closed her eyes. I want to stop hiding. Sam's voice was soft, but sure. Then don't. The next day, Diana entered the hospital without her armor. She didn't avoid eye contact.
She didn't deflect.
When Sam walked by her station, Diana didn't pretend not to see her.
She stopped.
Looked directly at her. And smiled. Not a smirk. Not a mask. A real smile. The kind that says, yes, I see you. The kind that says, I'm not running anymore. And Sam smiled back. The whispers would come. The judgment. The risks. But for the first time in decades, Diana Hartford didn't care. Because what they had was finally stronger than the fear. Diana Hartford didn't believe in regret. It was inefficient, sentimental, and, in her experience, a waste of perfectly good time. But walking into her office Monday morning to find the managing partner waiting at her desk, arms crossed, expression unreadable, she felt something in her gut that didn't have another name. Shut the door, he said. Diana obeyed, slowly. Is there a problem, Alan? We've had calls. He didn't sit. 2 clients. 1 board chair. A few internal murmurs. All variations of the same concern. Which is discretion. He slid a printout across her desk. A photo. Low-res, grainy, but unmistakable. Her. And Sam. In the hospital hallway. Smiling. Too close. Too intimate. You have enemies, Diana, Alan said. People who would love to knock you off that pedestal. So, I'm not allowed to smile now. You're not allowed to compromise your image. Especially not with a nurse who's practically young enough to be your intern. Diana felt the heat rise in her throat, but her voice stayed calm. My personal life is not up for discussion. It is when your personal life becomes public. He leaned forward. You're not being punished.
Yet.
But this, whatever this is, it can't continue. You're giving me an ultimatum? I'm giving you a reminder of what's at stake. The partners are watching. The clients are watching. And if this gets messy, I can't protect you. He walked out before she could speak. The silence left behind felt colder than anything Diana had ever known. That night, Sam was waiting for her outside the hospital. They hadn't planned to meet. They didn't have to. Some things no longer needed coordination, just gravity. Diana saw her, and everything she'd held together all day started to crack. You're pale, Sam said. Rough morning. Rough decade. Sam reached for her hand. Diana didn't move. I got called into a meeting, she said. About us. Sam froze. Already? Diana nodded. They showed me a photo. Of what? Of me looking at you like I care. The words hit harder than she intended. Sam took a slow breath. And what did you say? That it's none of their business. And they didn't accept that. No, Diana looked at her then. Really looked. They warned me that if I keep seeing you, it might cost me everything I've built. Sam stepped back slightly, something flickering in her eyes. And what do you want to do? Diana hesitated. I don't know. Sam's jaw tightened. That's not the answer I hoped for. I can't lie to you, but you can hesitate. Sam, no. I get it. You've spent your whole life climbing, being the best, untouchable, and now you've found something messy and complicated and real, and it terrifies you. Diana's voice was sharp, almost defensive. Of course it terrifies me. You terrify me.
Why?
Because you make me want to burn down everything I spent years convincing myself I needed. Sam blinked. Then burn it. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. Her voice cracked. It is for me. Diana stepped forward. You're asking me to choose between you and my entire career. No, Sam said quietly. I'm asking you to choose yourself. The version of you that doesn't have to hide. That's allowed to feel. Diana looked down. I'm not there yet. Sam's silence wasn't cold, but it was final. She stepped back again, arms folded across her chest, guarding herself. Then maybe you need time to decide if I'm worth losing something for. Diana didn't answer. She couldn't. Sam turned and walked away, each step echoing louder than the last. Diana stood alone in the dark, heart pounding, hands clenched. Later that night, she poured herself a glass of wine and didn't drink it. She sat in her apartment surrounded by silence and wealth and realized how small everything felt. How cold. Her phone buzzed once. A message from Sam. Just 4 words. I won't wait forever. Diana didn't respond. Not because she didn't care, but because she cared too much. The next morning, she didn't go to work. She sat with Margaret in her recovery room, watching her mother knit something too abstract to name. You look like someone who lost a fight, Margaret said. I might have. With Sam? With myself. Margaret set the yarn down. You're 45. How much longer are you planning to live like you're made of ice? I don't know how to do anything else. You know how to win, how to argue, but do you know how to love? Diana was silent. Margaret reached for her hand. She's not just some girl, Diana. She's the first person who's looked at you and seen you. Don't let fear make that a weakness. Diana blinked fast, staring out the window. If I let this happen, if I let her in, what happens if she leaves? Then you survive. But you'll have done it with your heart open, not buried. When she left the hospital that night, Diana didn't go home. She walked, for hours, through the city, past the courthouse, past the bars she used to haunt with colleagues, past her ex-husband's old apartment, past everything that once made her feel invincible. And none of it mattered. The only thing she really saw was Sam. Her eyes, her defiance, her hope, her hurt, her courage. Diana stopped at a bench near the river and sat down. For the first time in her life, she had no answers. Just one question burning a hole through everything. What are you so afraid of losing that you're willing to live without love to protect it? She pulled out her phone, stared at the message. Her thumbs hovered over the keyboard. And this time, she typed, "Come over. Please. I need to see you." She didn't send it.
Not yet.
But she left it there, waiting, like a door she hadn't had the strength to open until now. Diana hadn't moved in 40 minutes. She sat on that bench by the river, the message still unsent on her screen, her fingers cold despite the warm spring air. The city pulsed behind her. Horns, footsteps, laughter. A rhythm she used to command like an orchestra.
But now?
Now it all sounded like static, like background noise to the silence inside her. A silence shaped exactly like Sam. The message on the screen taunted her. "Come over.
Please.
I need to see you." She reread it again and again, but she couldn't press send. Because sending it meant choosing. Choosing meant surrender. And surrender meant vulnerability. At 11:27 p.m., she finally stood. Her feet ached. Her eyes burned. She didn't go home. She walked to Sam's apartment. 4 avenues. 2 cross streets. Every step an act of war against the part of her that begged her to turn back. When she reached the building, she didn't buzz. She hesitated under the awning for a full minute before dialing Sam's number. It rang.
Once. Twice. 3 times.
Then, hello? Her voice was hoarse.
Soft.
Diana exhaled. It's me. A beat. Then, you're outside. Yes. Another pause. Come up. The elevator ride felt eternal. Her pulse was loud in her ears. Her reflection in the mirrored walls looked nothing like the woman who ruled boardrooms and signed million-dollar settlements. She looked like someone breaking. Someone choosing. Sam opened the door without a word. Her eyes were tired, rimmed with red, hair tangled from sleep. She wore a faded sweatshirt and shorts. Barefoot. Beautiful.
Real.
Diana stepped inside, and for a moment, neither spoke. Then Sam said, "You didn't send the message." "I was afraid." "Of me?" "No," Diana's voice broke. "Of who I am when I'm with you." Sam blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means I feel everything. All at once. And it's unbearable. And addictive. And I don't know how to survive it." Sam stepped closer. "Then don't survive it. Live it." Diana closed her eyes. "I told him I'd stop seeing you." "Did you mean it?" "No," Sam's voice cracked. "Then why did you say it?" "Because I thought I had to choose between the life I built and the one I want." She opened her eyes. "But now I know the life I built means nothing without you in it." Sam looked at her like she was trying not to shatter. "You still don't know if you can handle it, do you?" "No," Diana stepped forward. "But I want to try. And I want to try with you." Sam's breath hitched. "You're late." Diana froze. "Late?" Sam smiled through tears. "To your own surrender." Diana let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. She reached for Sam, cupped her face in both hands, and kissed her like apology and promise all at once. It wasn't a kiss of lust or desperation. It was the kind of kiss that says, "I see you. I've chosen you. And I'm never looking away again." Sam's arms wrapped around her. Their foreheads pressed together when they finally pulled apart. "This doesn't go away," Sam whispered. "Even when you leave.
Even when we fight.
I won't pretend this isn't real." "Neither will I." "So now what?" Diana exhaled. "Now we do the thing that scares me most. Which is, let the world see us." That night, they didn't fall into bed like before. They undressed slowly, deliberately, like learning a language without words. They touched with reverence, like explorers mapping each other's skin. And when they finally lay still, Sam's hand resting over Diana's heart, Diana whispered, "I used to believe love was weakness. And now I think hiding from it is." At 7:48 the next morning, Diana walked into her firm's lobby. Heads turned. Whispers followed her all the way to the elevator. She didn't break pace, didn't lower her eyes. She entered the conference room 5 minutes early and dropped a file on the polished mahogany table. The partners were already seated. Alan looked up. "Diana, we weren't expecting—" "I know," she interrupted. "I came to make something clear." The room fell silent.
She didn't sit.
She looked at each of them in turn. "You pay me to win. And I do. Better than anyone else you've ever hired. But I'm done pretending that my personal life is some kind of threat to this firm's success. If you want someone soulless and polished and hollow, replace me. If you want the woman who's brought in more clients and won more settlements than the last 3 senior partners combined, let me live my life. I'm not asking for approval. I'm asking for respect." Alan leaned back, unreadable. "And if someone leaks it, then let them. I won't be ashamed of who I love." The silence was thunderous. One partner cleared her throat. "You've made your point." Diana nodded.
"Good.
"Then let's get to work." She sat. And for the first time in 20 years, she felt lighter than air. That evening, Sam stood in front of her apartment building, arms crossed, eyes wide. "You actually said it?" Diana nodded. "Every word." "You didn't have to." "Yes," Diana said. "I did." Sam stepped closer, voice trembling. "So what are we now?" "Visible," Diana whispered. "And free." Then she kissed her. In public. In daylight. On a busy New York street. And for once in her life, Diana didn't care who saw. Because hiding had cost her too much. And loving Sam? Loving Sam was finally worth everything. Diana never thought visibility could feel like violence. But in the days after she stopped hiding, the spotlight found her with brutal precision. The photo of her and Sam kissing on the street appeared on a gossip blog less than 48 hours later. The headline was sharp.
Cold.
Ice Queen melts. Powerhouse attorney Hartford spotted in midnight romance with much younger nurse. The article wasn't long, but it didn't need to be. It had all the ingredients the public loved. Wealth, power, age difference, and the threat of scandal wrapped in a sapphic bow. By noon, the firm's front desk had received 17 calls from reporters. By evening, Diana's name was trending online. Not because of a case. Not because of a win. But because she dared to be in love. Sam saw the article from a patient's phone while she was rewrapping a sprained ankle. She froze mid-wrap. Her hands trembled. The boy's mother glanced at her. "You okay, hon?" Sam forced a smile.
Yeah.
Just tired. That night, they didn't meet. Diana stayed in her apartment, staring at her phone, waiting for Sam to text. Sam didn't. The silence between them that night wasn't cold. It was defensive. Like both of them were bracing for an impact that hadn't yet landed. The next morning, Diana walked into the hospital and immediately knew something was wrong. The glances were different now. Not curious. Not polite. Calculated. Measured. Like people had chosen sides in a war she hadn't meant to start. A nurse at the desk didn't make eye contact. A resident brushed past her without saying hello. And when she reached Margaret's room, her mother's expression said everything before she spoke. "You should talk to her." Diana blinked. "Sam?" Margaret nodded. "She looks like someone trying not to fall apart. I didn't know this would explode like this." "You're Hartford. Everything you do is loud." "Diana, Saturday, I thought coming clean would feel like freedom." "It is." "Then why does it feel like bleeding?" "Because now the cost is visible. And you finally care." Diana didn't find Sam until late that night, in the hospital's back garden, seated on a bench with her knees pulled up, hoodie over her head. She didn't look up when Diana approached. "I didn't want you to see it like this," Diana said. Sam gave a quiet laugh. "Didn't want me to see what? The public dragging you? The firm spinning your life into PR strategy? People whispering every time I walk down the hallway?" "I didn't ask for the headlines. But they came anyway." Diana sat beside her. Not too close. Not touching. Just there. "I told myself we could handle it." "We can," Sam said softly. "But I'm scared." Diana exhaled. "Me too. They called me reckless, you know, in a meeting this morning. Said I'd compromised my professionalism. That my attachment to a patient's family was interfering with my work." Diana's jaw clenched. "You're the best nurse on this floor." "Doesn't matter. They're watching now, waiting for me to slip. I'll fix this." Sam turned to her then.
No.
"Don't." "Why not?" "Because I don't want to be something you fix, Diana. I want to be someone you fight for. Not protect. Not hide.
Fight."
Diana reached for her hand. "I thought I was." "You're still trying to control the damage." Sam's voice cracked. "But maybe the damage is the point. Maybe the only way we win is if we stop pretending we can walk through this clean." Diana looked down. "I don't know how to be messy." "Then let me teach you." For a moment, neither spoke. The city hummed around them, but they were still. Quiet. Then Diana said, "I love you." Sam's head whipped toward her. "What?" "I love you," Diana said again, louder now. "I've been in love with you since the night you sang to that child. Since you looked at me like I wasn't made of stone. Since you told me I scare you and stayed anyway." Sam blinked, tears welling. "You've never said that before. I've never felt it before. So what now?" Diana squeezed her hand. "Now I fight, even if I lose." "Even if we lose?" Diana smiled, eyes burning. "Especially then." They went public, deliberately this time. Diana released a short statement through her firm. "My personal life has no bearing on my professional capacity." I am in a relationship built on mutual respect, honesty, and love.
I stand by it.
Unapologetically. It was clean, professional, but behind the scenes, the fallout came fast. 3 clients threatened to pull contracts. One did. A junior partner called her a liability during a staff meeting. A firm-wide memo went out about maintaining reputational standards. Diana sat through all of it, eyes forward, chin high. Sam, meanwhile, was put under review. The hospital administration said it was routine, but everyone knew better. Her hours were cut.
Her rotation changed.
The head nurse stopped making eye contact. And yet she stayed. They both did.
Bruised. Watched.
Whispered about. But they stayed. Together. One night, a week after everything exploded, Diana came home late. Sam was already there, curled on the couch, half asleep, a book in her lap. Diana sat beside her, pulled her into her arms, and whispered, "Still want this." Sam didn't even hesitate. "More than anything. Even if we lose everything?" Sam pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. "You're not everything I have, Diana, but you're everything I choose." And Diana knew. Whatever storm still waited for them tomorrow, tonight, they'd already won. It had been 29 days since Diana Hartford told the world she was in love with Sam Taylor. 29 days since the firm lost a high-profile client. Since the board voted to keep her under reputational observation. Since whispers gave way to silence, and silence gave way to stares that no longer carried power over her. 29 days since Sam's rotation changed, since the hospital staff split into quiet factions, those who admired her for standing tall and those who looked away in hallways. 29 days of bruises neither of them showed. And yet, it only took 29 days for something else to begin too. Healing. One morning, Diana woke with Sam's hair spread across her chest, the city humming gently through the window, and the realization hit her with sharp, quiet certainty. She wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop anymore. She was finally living. Margaret was discharged that afternoon. The hospital had done everything by the book, but the staff looked at Sam as if she were radioactive. Diana picked her mother up personally. No driver. No assistant. No pretense. Just Diana, in sneakers, helping her mother into a cab like a daughter should. "You look different," Margaret said as they pulled away from the hospital. "More alive." Diana smiled faintly. "Maybe I am." "Is it her?" Diana didn't answer right away.
Then, yes.
"It's her." Margaret nodded, satisfied. "I hope you hold on to her, Diana. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." The hard parts didn't vanish. Sam's review wasn't dropped. It just ended quietly, without apology. Her hours were slowly restored, but she wasn't placed back in the cardiac unit.
She didn't complain.
Diana stepped back from 3 cases voluntarily. Not because she was losing her edge, but because for the first time in her life, she wanted to work less. She wanted to make space for joy, for stillness, for someone who wasn't her past. On a Wednesday evening, after a dinner spent barefoot in Sam's kitchen laughing over half-burnt lasagna and badly poured wine, Sam turned to her with wide eyes and said, "I found a job posting. Brooklyn. Smaller hospital. Better hours." Diana froze. "Are you thinking about leaving?" "Thinking about what we could build. Without being watched like a threat." Diana exhaled. "Do you want me to move with you?" Sam stepped closer. "I want you to want to." Diana touched her face. "I'd go anywhere with you." They found a small brownstone. 2 floors. Exposed brick. A garden in the back, overrun with weeds, but full of promise. Sam fell in love with it instantly. Diana stood in the empty kitchen, running her hands over the counter, imagining coffee mugs and shared silence and soft music instead of court filings and scotch. "This could be home," she whispered. And it was. Not immediately. Not easily. But they filled it. With photos and mismatched blankets and meals that never turned out quite right. With quiet mornings and loud arguments and long, aching kisses that said we're still here. On the day Diana's firm promoted someone else to senior chair, a position she'd been groomed for years to inherit. She brought home champagne anyway. Sam opened the door and said, "Bad news." Diana kissed her hard and replied, "No, the best." Sam blinked. "You lost." "I let go." "Of what?" "Of pretending that position was more important than peace." Sam pulled her into the living room, laughing, and they drank from chipped mugs, legs tangled on the floor. Months passed. Fall came. Leaves bled gold through their windows. Sam's new job was quieter, more personal. Diana opened her own consulting firm. Smaller, more selective. She chose her clients now, chose her battles, chose herself. One Sunday, Diana came home early to find Sam sitting in the garden, knees to her chest, wrapped in a thick sweater. She was crying, not sobbing, just silent, soft tears, like a storm passing gently overhead. Diana sat beside her immediately. "Tell me." Sam wiped her cheek. "I had a patient today." She coded. "We couldn't save her." Diana touched her hand. "I'm sorry. She was my age. 23. Her mother kept whispering her name, over and over, like if she said it enough, it would bring her back. Diana didn't speak. Sam leaned into her. "I don't want to waste this life. I don't want to wait until I'm older to feel everything." "You're not wasting anything. I need to know this is real, that we're building something that matters." Diana took her hand, pressed it to her own chest. "Then ask me the question." Sam looked at her. "What question?" Diana smiled. "The one I already know the answer to." Sam's breath caught. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." In the spring they married. Not in a church, not under chandeliers or at a country club, but in their garden, under a canopy of fairy lights and ivy, with 20 friends, a few chairs, and Margaret officiating with tears in her eyes and a voice full of pride. Diana wore a suit. Sam wore a dress with pockets. They laughed through the vows. They kissed like they'd already spent a lifetime waiting. And when the last guest left and the lights dimmed, they sat barefoot on the garden steps, hands intertwined, watching the sky shift to indigo. "Do you remember the first time I saw you?" Sam asked. "I was singing to a child in the hallway." Diana nodded. "You looked at me like I was ridiculous." "You were ridiculous. And you were impossible." Diana smiled, kissed her shoulder. "And now I'm yours." Sam turned to her. "You were always mine. You just didn't know it yet." The wind rustled the ivy. Somewhere in the city, a siren wailed. But here, in this small, quiet corner of the world they built together, there was nothing but peace. And for once, Diana Hartford didn't want to control any of it. She just wanted to feel it.
And she did.
Every second, every breath, every heartbeat that echoed not in fear, but in love. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $sign icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you.